Because I don't believe in Meta. I have been.
What? And his answer was, I never heard of this, it never happened. This is strike two. He pretends not to know because he doesn't want to talk about that man. Then what else is he lying about? So guys, we've got a lot of things to talk about, and I hope to be able to cover all the things that I prepared. I've got a lot of tabs open today, and thank you everyone for being here. So as you know, I made part 2. I'm not going to play anything except for 3 seconds from this clip because I don't want this to be copy claimed. I believe that if I only show 3 seconds, but I got to show you 3 seconds, it happens on minute 17:06. Something happens, and it's the first thing that I will reveal today for the public to know. Today's going to be a revelation day. Today's going to be a revelation day. So we're not going to show this. Noble ones, are you ready for the great reveal? I might be censored. As I show you this, I might be censored, but the truth is the truth. I'm going to play 3 seconds from Joe Rogan Experience from second 06 to 09. There is a great revelation that we're going to get said live, possibly a Freudian slip, but I don't care. Are you ready, guys? 3 seconds, 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1.
Now,
Person can make us a pyramid.
what I want to show you, that I'm not a person. But
Dr. Hawass. Skin suit detected. Skin suit detected. You said it. Reptilian. We got you. Reptilian. Lay down your arms. Right now, Doctor.
What I want to tell you is that I'm not a person, guys. Lizard people, that's what we're talking about today. Lizard people, no wonder. It's in his book, yeah. Book sales 100%. The mic has got... Sorry, I just pulled a Mudahar on you. Who am I? Some ordinary gamers too? What? I'll give a little introduction of what we're going to do today. So, I found a video, and it's this video here on the channel Ancient Astronaut Archive, which was a confrontation, a debate between Graham Hancock and Dr. Zahi Hawass. This is something that happened. I believe that this initial confrontation happened a very long time ago. Clearly, we've been speaking a lot about Dr. Zahi Hawass lately because of the fact that he went to Joe Rogan. So you might be, hey, but Metatron, why are you judging the man based on something he said possibly a decade ago, whenever the heck this happened? Usually I don't, but I'll tell you why I'm making an exception today. Normally I wouldn't. Maybe said something 10 years ago, but in the process, in the meantime, you know, he has had time to mature, to change his opinion, and so I would want to see what he says today, and if the two things don't match, I will say, hey, it doesn't matter what he said 10 years ago, because the man has changed. But the reason why I'm making an exception today and we are watching this is because I noticed something. I watched this is not a debate, this is beyond, regardless. I noticed something. I noticed a pattern. You will see that the same mental approach that Zahi Hawass has shown on the Joe Rogan interview, which happened 15 minutes ago, the exact same mental pattern, exact same excuses, exact same language that he used 10 years ago when he had this massive clash with Mr. Hancock. So, at this point, Metatron to reveal all on OnlyFans. My friend, due to the fact that my name is Metatron, I think rather than an OnlyFans, I should open a Holy Fans. How about that joke? Every time that Joe Rogan was presenting an idea, whether it be, are there aliens, they both agree that they don't think that it's the aliens that built the pyramids, but Joe Rogan then kind of moved it a step further, and he asked Mr. Hawass, do you believe that aliens could exist due to the expanse of the universe, kind of probably a connection to the Fermi paradox? And he said, absolutely not, you remember that? And then several times, whenever he brought in alternative ideas, including Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, he kept saying, it's not true, it never happened, I don't want to see it, I never saw it. Do you remember that? Let's see if the man has changed from 10 years ago, shall we?
And I don't want to talk to him. And I don't want his name to be mentioned.
There is
He's not academic. He is nothing.
So, okay, so here we have Graham Hancock, and then we've got Zahi Hawass. They are having a heated argument. I'll tell you why. Because I've already watched this, I dissected it before this. They had agreed to have a debate. He showed something on screen. I'll tell you what it is, because it's going to connect to what happened at Joe Rogan. And then we're going to have questions after I show you this. So now they're having a confrontation because Mr. Hancock has shown something on screen. He is not academic. He is nothing.
In academic world, we do not do ad hominem arguments.
All right, so Hancock says in the academic world, we do not do ad hominem arguments. Hawass respond to this.
We do not debate the matter. We debate the matter.
The matter is debated really and it's closed. It is debated closed. It's closed.
All right.
Then you don't want to hear anything.
Exactly.
Then, okay, so Hancock says, then you don't want to hear anything I have to say. And Zahi Hawass says, exactly, I don't want to hear anything. And this is the first connection when it comes to, once again, the mental pattern that Zahi Hawass appears to have not changed whenever Joe Rogan was presenting anything to him, not just the fringe sort of alt history ideas or aliens built the pyramids or the Younger Dryas or the Ice Age civilization or the ancient Egyptians didn't build the pyramids or anything that Joe Rogan presented that isn't the exact systematically organized presentation or content of the presentation that Zahi Hawass has in his notes it's a lie, it didn't happen, it has never happened, I don't want to hear it, and here I see the exact same thing.
I don't want to hear it.
It's connected.
No, please, don't say this to me. It is true. Because don't say this word to me. It's a shame on you, not on me.
So the thing became really heated. Zahi Hawass getting really mad. At this moment, Mr. Hawass is not used to have people speak to him in a manner that he doesn't agree, that he doesn't like, even though he can say whatever he wants about other people. This is a fact.
To have an open discussion about all that.
Don't talk to me. Please, go away from me.
Okay? Don't talk to me, please go away from me.
Shame on you. Why does he shame on me? Why? I don't.
Yeah, I agree with him in this point. He should be able to openly discuss. Exactly. This man did bad things. I don't want to hear his name. Whose name? Who is this man? Let me see if he says the name. Check this out.
This man did bad things. I don't want to hear his name.
This man.
And I'm going to call. I want to let this man know that this country.
Boom. So now this really changed my perception on Zahi Hawass. So he's using his authority and power and connection with politicians. He doesn't like what this man that we still don't know, well, I know who he is, but we still don't know who it is. You'll see how it connects to Joe Rogan, but he's going to use his power, here he is, and his connection to make sure that the man he doesn't like is not going to be allowed to enter the country. This is a word of power. If I already didn't like Mr. Hawass because of the Joe Rogan thing, now I don't like him even 10 times more. But who is the man that he doesn't want to be able to go to Egypt? Well, let's continue. This is gonna be a hot one. I told you I found something. It was not clickbait. Let's go.
Because he's a cock. It's not my own business.
We should be able to.
Please, I don't want to talk to you. Please, just
Okay.
present your word here.
Boom. There he is, guys. That's the first thing you see. Can you recognize the constellation on screen? Orion, here's the belt. So this is what triggered Zahi Hawass. So you thought that saying that something was a door, that there was a door on top of the Sphinx was going to make him explode. You tell him about Orion. This is what's going to happen. Border Patrol. Of course, they are also talking about the man behind this theory, and this is going to connect very neatly. And then I'm going to have a big question for Mr. Hawass to what happened during the interview with Joe Rogan. If you haven't watched that, of course, there is a video.
I am presenting my own
Okay,
theory.
I'm not going to attend this.
I have
I'm not
written
going
books
to
with Mr. Bob.
I'm not going to attend this.
So I wonder why he even went at this point, but whatever. So he's leaving.
Even before a word is exchanged, one image, and Mr. Hawass leaves the room. Shame.
Boom! The name. Do you guys know who Bovol, aka Robert Bovol, is? Because we're gonna open a whole can of worms, and you're here for it. So we're gonna open a Wikipedia page. I've already vetted the Wikipedia page because, as you know, Robert Bovel. Sometimes Wikipedia shares nonsense, but in this case I read it and it appeared to be reasonable. This is the guy, Robert Bovel, born in 1948, Egyptian writer and lecturer. So he is from Egypt. Imagine that. You're like, I will prevent you from going back to your own country. That's what Zahi Hawass said he was going to do. Perhaps best known for the fringe Orion correlation theory regarding the Giza pyramid complex, which clearly upsets, if there is anything apart from a door on the Sphinx that is going to upset Mr. Zahi Hawass, is this theory. The reason why this connects with Joe Rogan is because Joe Rogan specifically asked him about Robert Bovel, and he said, "Who's that? I never heard of him." Now, this is my question. He's 77, maybe he's getting a little senile, perhaps he forgot, although then again, how do you forget something that made you explode like this, and then you pretend you had never heard the name? Or he's lying, right? Because he doesn't want to talk about it. So Joe Rogan tells me the name Robert Bovel. We just heard it, all the things he had to say. He's a crook. He will never be allowed here. I don't want to talk about him. He knew exactly. They said the name, but now he says he doesn't know. Selective memory. So the other possibility that we have to consider, this is all alleged in case there is a lawyer, if he is lying, so he knows exactly who Robert Bovel is, and he pretends not to know because he doesn't want to talk about that man in such a massive environment, then what else is he lying about? Because you see, the problem with lying is once you establish that someone lied about something important, not about whether or not you had McDonald's this morning, I'm saying something important. If someone lies about something important and the lie would benefit their positions, then it's going to become really difficult to believe them. Now, I'm not saying that I just proved that he lies, but I'm saying this is first element that points to the possibility of a lie or selective memory. It's not the only one. So, Bovel, first problem.
Well, I'm sorry, Boval is central to the alternative army.
Yeah, Bovel is central.
We cannot have a discussion without Boval.
Right, fair. Okay, this was the image. Here, check this out.
Your question about something, creation from the third.
Boom. All right. This is the second one, guys. So, if you remember, if you don't, you'll find it in my, either in the original video made by, of course, the Joe Rogan Experience, or in my commentary. Another important aspect that happened during the conversation was when Joe Rogan asked him specifically about Göbekli Tepe. And his answer was, I never heard of this. It never happened. I've never heard of this. It never happened. This is strike two. I feel like a detective today. This is strike two. He said specifically, never happened. I don't know what it is. There is no Göbekli Tepe. It's impossible. It never happened. It's a lie. These are all liars. That's what he said. You can check it. You can check it. This is the second one. So he forgot about who Robert Bovel is. He forgot about Göbekli Tepe. And I would like to underline that Joe Rogan pushed. And he said, oh, it's something that happened in Turkey. Do you want to know what his answer was? Feel free again to check my video because it's there and it's covered. He said, are we talking about Egypt or are we talking about Turkey? So he may not have remembered what Göbekli Tepe was, but he did answer with the exact same counter argument. So once again, we are in the presence of selective memory. You can double check all of this, guys. I triple checked it before clicking live. I'm like, I don't know. Is it really? I rewatched it. I rewatched the entire thing. He says that never happened because never heard of it. Don't want to hear about it. So when it happens once, I'm like, I don't know. Two, perhaps we are in the coincidence realm. But if it happens again, like he continuously says, I don't know what these things are, but he remembers the exact same counter arguments that he used 10 years ago. That's excellent memory for a 77-year-old man. I'm on the case. Maybe he'll talk about a door. It's not a door. Someone super chat the pronunciation. Well, let me see. Someone said it. Let's put it here. Before we continue. Let me see. So Göbekli. Not Göbekli. Okay, Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Göbekli. But you didn't tell me about the Tepe or Tepi. Göbekli. I don't speak the language, guys. I know I don't speak all languages. You know, it's, even angels have got limits. What can I tell you? All right, then. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate.
The impact of the excavations that are going on in Turkey vis-a-vis Egypt's history.
What have you found in Turkey are Egyptian stuff?
No, just as a leading expert on what Egypt's history is, what is the impact of these incredible excavations in Turkey? Well, maybe Graham could explain a bit, and then
Is it Graham or Graham?
you could comment. Is that possible?
Yeah, if Dr. Hawass has heard my talk, he would have seen the images and heard the presentation. But Göbekli Tepe has been excavated by the German Archaeological Institute by Klaus Schmidt. Göbekli Tepe is firmly dated to 9,600 BC. It consists of a vast series of gigantic megalithic pillars, more than 70% of which are still under the ground.
That is a fascinating discovery, by the way. I do love the discovery at Göbekli Tepe. If you remember, Joe Rogan during the interview did ask Dr. Hawass, what do you think about the dating of the pyramids? And Dr. Hawass did not want to hear it. He said, it never happened. It's not true. I don't want to hear it. I never heard of it. Which is kind of weird. How can you state that something is false if you don't even want to hear it? Hear it first and then call it false. If you tell me, I hear it, and I think it's nonsense because of this evidence or counter evidence, that I can hear you. But if you say, if you hear the name or just a basic idea, you say, I don't want to hear it because it's false, that's propaganda. That is the actions of a propagandist already right there. So, you may be familiar with it. The Orion correlation theory is a fringe theory in Egyptology attempting to explain the arrangement of the Giza pyramid complex. So of course there are loads of pyramids in Egypt, but the ones that everyone focuses on are the ones that are present in the Giza plateau. So the complex, right? The complex is not just the pyramids. You've got the Osiris shaft. I mean, everyone knows now, I think, because you've been following the situation. You've got the Temple of the Valley Temple. There is a lot that can be discovered. There is the Sphinx, but the three pyramids, if you look at them, sort of from a satellite, you'll notice that indeed they do appear to kind of represent the constellation of Orion with a reasonable level of precision. And now this has been addressed. Some people disagree with it, also because I think if you go in very small numbers, then it's less impressive when you look at the mathematics of it. But regardless, this is the theory. So it points that there is a correlation between the location of the three largest pyramids of the Giza Pyramid Complex and Orion's belt of the constellation of Orion, and that this correlation was intended as such by the original builders of the Giza Pyramid Complex. I think, personally, we do know that the ancient Egyptians were very advanced when it comes to mathematics, when it comes to astronomy. There are, in fact, quite a few techniques. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the ancient Greeks, including Archimedes, the father of history, Herodotus, they learned some techniques from the Egyptians. Specifically, there is a technique that I always like to bring up, which is called the Egyptian screw, and it's part of a mechanism. It's a machine that the Romans could build. When I say machine, I'm talking about, it's a mechanism that the Romans could build because they learned it from the Greeks, because the Greeks learned it from the Egyptians. So the Egyptians were quite advanced. What was this machine used for? The Egyptian screw, I believe it was a bronze screw, and it was used in order to create a machine that could pump water out of underground river flows and bring the water into the surface. And this was used during deep shaft mining, given Iron Age and then classical antiquity and even Bronze Age deep mining. It's not like modern deep mining that we go kilometers under the earth. They couldn't do that. But they could go down up to even 100 or 200 meters. That's mentioned in the sources. Pliny the Elder is one of the people that mentions this, for instance. And of course, this could be a problem. If you run into a water table, if you run into an underground river, the Romans were aware of this, so were the ancient Greeks. This could be a problem because it could flood your entire shaft, and then it could mean that you would stop your endeavor, the entire enterprise. And do keep in mind that when the Romans go horizontal, they do it for all sorts of materials. But if they go vertical down in the shafts, they do it only for silver and gold because it's expensive, and they need to deal with a lot of problems such as darkness, temperature, air quality, and the water. these 4 problems. And one of these problems was solved with a technology that was taken from the Greeks and they took it from the Egyptians. So the Egyptians were quite advanced. But the problem, I think, here is that in order for this to work, you need to redate the entirety of the pyramid complex. And I think this is why Dr. Hawass hates this fringe theory. But the reason is that when it comes to this theory to work, then the pyramids, which are currently dated to the 4th dynasty, if I'm correct, so we're talking 4,500 years ago, they would have to be redated because of the position of these stars from the perspective of the ancients in order to map. They would have to be dated to 10,000 BC.
It raises questions over the origin of civilization, since we have not anywhere in the world before found a gigantic megalithic construction dated to 11,600 years ago. And since Turkey is not very far away from here, and since I at least feel there are question marks over the Sphinx, I think it's relevant to consider the recent discovery of a gigantic megalithic site in Turkey dated to 11,600 years ago, and to wonder whether we should raise questions over the Sphinx again.
I don't think that what has been said is right.
You see, that's another pattern. I think, of course, he connects it to the Younger Dryas, he connects it to the Ice Age civilization, and to me that's a stretch, but still, 11,500 years ago, right? When are we? Really, it kind of depends on where we are talking, but in general, we are in between the end of the Paleolithic and so Upper Paleolithic and the beginning of the early Mesolithic period. So according to what we know, when it comes to history and prehistory as we understand it, there should be no civilization in the Upper Paleolithic, not a civilization in the way we use the word conventionally. Now, if we want to be precise about this, I can pull up a definition of what a civilization is, because of course, before we start debating something, and that's one thing I would do if I had this gentleman on my show, is, well, let's first define what you mean exactly by civilization, because usually civilization has a very specific meaning when it comes to history, prehistory, archaeology, and whatnot. And so it's important that we underline it. But that's what makes it important, okay? So we can't deny the fact that this discovery has happened. Göbekli Tepe, it exists. What we can discuss is if it was a civilization that did it or not, okay? So that's the part that we can be open to discussion. So he said at this point, 10 years ago, we know he doesn't know what this is. He hasn't got a clue, because when they mention Göbekli Tepe, he says, what is that? What is this? I don't know what it is, unless he's making it up again. But then again, let's believe him this time. Really being as charitable as I can be. You still man your opponent's argument, right? So he doesn't remember now because he had a lapse of memory. He didn't know back then, 10 years ago. But what is his reaction? I never heard of this Göbekli Tepe, the place. He never heard of it. He doesn't know what it is. It's in Turkey. He didn't even know that it happened in Turkey. And yet he says, I don't think that what has been said is right. How do you know? That's the problem I have with this man's methodology. That's the problem. And we saw this during the entirety of the freaking 3 hours, 4 hours interview with Joe Rogan. He hears something he's never heard. He immediately dismisses it categorically. If someone were to present to me, and I'm not the former Ministry of Antiquities, if someone presented to me an idea and tells me, look, there is a discovery in Mesoamerica, and we found that there is a temple, but these temples predate any other temple that we have of hundreds of years, do you think I would say, no, that never happened, it's a lie? That's the way he approaches any new information that is presented to him. That is not how an academic operates. It's not how an academic operates. And that's an important thing to say. An academic, I understand it depends who says it, but if a statement like this has been made, at least have the decency to say, well, I don't know anything about this guy, so I can't really comment on it. That's what you should say. Or you take the time to say, okay, stop. You have a look at it, you review it, and then afterwards you can consult if it's a little bit outside your area of expertise, and then you can tell me it was all nonsense. Here is the counter evidence. This is the reality. Or maybe if you're such a professional, you probably don't even need to go and have a look at the sources, because you're so confident in what you know, that you can immediately tell me, I don't think this is possible because this, and that. But do remember that he doesn't believe in carbon dating. He says carbon dating has never worked. He says this during the Joe Rogan Experience, which is objectively false. Sometimes carbon dating is not perfect, okay? So sometimes carbon dating is wrong. It's not an infallible method of dating, but to state that it has never worked is, I couldn't believe he said that. But that happened. So here we are, guys. I think it's beyond Dunning-Kruger, to be honest. I mean, I'm someone who tries to smudge Inca. You say Dunning-Kruger, indeed. Yes, but I think this is beyond. This is information control. A Dunning-Kruger effect occurs when someone doesn't know. It's not intentional. This, to me, looks intentional and, in fact, rehearsed. That's why I'm saying I'm starting to see a propagandist here. Because Dunning-Kruger effect is when you do not have, you overestimate usually your own ability because you don't have the skill level necessary to properly assess your level. This happens in the language field all the time. People that say, hey, I'm pronouncing it perfectly, why don't they understand me? And the reality is, for instance, in Mandarin, that you didn't even have the level necessary to recognize the fluctuations in the tones, for instance. So you think you're repeating it the same. You're not. You're not doing the third tone right. This is one of the main tones that people get wrong all the time if they don't have training. You don't understand the pitch. You don't understand what to even repeat. So Dunning-Kruger effect usually happens without you knowing it. But this, to me, looks intentional. I'm just going to say what I think. This looks intentional to me.
It has nothing to do with anything. In my opinion, we know the native history. What has been found in Turkey, I don't think, and I don't know if this is true or not.
Finally, now this is good, but I wish he had ditched the it's not true. And by the way, with Joe Rogan, he didn't even do this. He didn't even do this. He just said, it's false. It never happened. It's a lie. That's what he said.
I have, did you ever hear about this? Metatron. No, radar showed anything? Because I don't believe in radar.
What? He doesn't believe in radar? Ooh, that's a new one, guys. We're gathering some interesting information. Write it down. Write it down. Write it down, guys. He doesn't believe in radar. Ooh, I want to see what you guys think about this.
Using radar all the world. It never made any sky.
Well, I'm afraid that the radar does show, and you're discrediting the German Archaeological Institute. And Professor Klaus Schmidt, who sadly passed away a few months ago, a very sincere and decent, hard-working man, who has published his findings on which are not in dispute. Göbekli Tepe is 11,600 years old. It is a giant megalithic site. It isn't very far from Egypt. It is a relevant context, in my view. At least it should cause us to have some curiosity about some of the sites in Egypt.
When it comes to Graham Hancock, it's not like that I'm defending necessarily Graham Hancock here, because I personally don't believe. I'm very skeptical. I'm not going to say absolutely 100% you didn't have an Ice Age civilization. I can't make a statement like that. So I always kind of leave a small window of possibility. But of course, the size of my window of possibility when it comes to extraordinary claims is proportional to the amount of evidence that is presented to me. So at the moment, I don't really believe in what Graham Hancock presents. I would be happy to have Graham Hancock here on the show, and I have a little discussion. I do have a few questions to ask. So it's not that I'm necessarily defending him, but I do want to say Hancock says we do not do ad hominem attacks. So what is an ad hominem attack? Ad hominem, from Latin to the person, refers to several types of arguments that are usually fallacious. Often currently, this term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the speaker attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making an argument rather than the substance of the argument itself. So up to this point, I have to say what we see checks. Also, he's not an academic, so he is wrong. I'm an academic, therefore, that's implied I am right, and that's often called appeal to authority fallacy. I don't see any change in the way Zahi Hawass faces any form of information, whether it be true or not, whenever it doesn't follow the pre-established patterns that he has decided. He does appear as a massive gatekeeper. And regardless of, I don't dismiss the work that he has done over several decades. I'm sure he has done fantastic work for Egyptology, but that really doesn't matter at this point. Whatever discovery you've done, whatever advancement you've done, but at this point, I think it appears to me that he's anything but open-minded, and he said that he was very open-minded. And yet, he also said that every other archaeologist in the world is wrong and only he is right. This is something he said in part 1. So in my video, in the first half of the conversation that he had with Joe Rogan. And that already kind of surprised me, because I thought that I was going to see Zahi Hawass attack people like Hancock, people like whoever. I mean, the fellow Jimmy Corsetti. That's what I was thinking. Jay Anderson, debunking. That's who I was thinking he would attack. No, he literally attacked everyone. Everyone. So everyone is wrong unless you come to Egypt. It's in my book. I've been doing it for 57 years. Including, he said, all archaeologists. Maybe his language is a little hyperbolic. Do I have to read it as hyperbole? Or does he actually mean it? I'll leave you with that question. And that's how we ended the first part of this wonderful stream